So I'm making a Zarknizer. So what we discussed in the last session? So we discussed the remaining two components we discussed. That is, so we discussed the broadcast receiver and content provider, two concepts we discussed in the last session. Okay. So today we discussed the action bar and menus concept we'll discuss. Today's session will discuss what? Menu and action bar. Let's see 1 minute. Today we'll discuss menu and action bar. So these two concepts we'll discuss. Okay. So menu and action bar means nothing but if you see the WhatsApp screen, if you see, give me a second. I'll show you the WhatsApp screen. I'll show you. So on it, I'm connecting my mobile. Okay, so let me draw here. So if you see this WhatsApp screen, in the header part, the device header part, you can find three options you can find here. The device header part, you can find three options you can find here. So one is calls, contacts, and charts. So here you can get three tabs you can get here. So in the header section, you can get three tabs. One is contacts, calls, and charts. Contacts, calls. I mean, just I'm showing the WhatsApp screen. Okay, so these are the three tabs: contacts, calls, and another one is chat. Right? Contacts, calls, and chat. Okay, so you'll get three options, and here you'll get the application title. You'll get, for example, like WhatsApp. Here at the website, you'll get the application title. You'll get, and right side you can find three dots. Right side you can find three dots. So once if you select these three dots, you'll get a drop down menu. You'll get at the right side. You can find these three dots. You can find, right? So once if you select the three dots, you'll get the list of options you'll get. Meaning you'll get a drop down menu. You'll get, in that drop down menu will present the list of values will present. And so beside of this, you can find two options you can find. That is nothing but attach button, and another thing is calls button. You'll find two options you can find. One is the call. You can find two options. One is the call button, and another thing is what? Attach button. You can find two options you can find here. One is the call button. Second thing is what? Attach button. Okay, so once if you select these two buttons, so here this entire area is called as action bar. This entire area is called as what? It's a action bar. So in this action bar, this is called as what? It is called as tabs. Tabs in the activity. Okay, and these two are also nothing but menu only. So these options, these buttons, and this once if you select this drop down menu, not only in WhatsApp you can find these type of UI in different applications. You can find the UI. So here once if you select these icons and this drop down menu, so all these things is nothing but it's a menu. So what it is a menu. It is nothing but what? Menu. Okay, so now we'll see how to create these menu items and how to create the action tabs, how to create the tabs and all. Okay, so first we'll discuss the menu part. So first we'll discuss menu. We'll discuss. So first, if you want to configure the menu options, configure configure the menu options in the following XML. Configure the menu options in the following XML. So actually there is a folder called resource. The resource is a folder name. In resource folder, you can find a folder called menu. In resource folder, you can find a folder called what? Menu is a folder name. In this menu folder, you can create any XML. You can create any XML. You can create file name.xml. File name.xml. In this XML file, let's create a tag with menu. I had to create a tag called menu. In this menu tag, we had to configure the list of items we had to configure by using item tag. We had to configure the values we had to configure by using what? Item tag we had to configure. So we had to specify the title. So title, you can specify any title here. So we had to specify the title we had to specify, and we had to specify the icon we had to specify. Android colon icon is equals to Android colon icon is equals to at drawable slash image name. You can specify any image name you can specify. So one is title, icon, and yeah, we had to close the item tag. We had to close. Let's close the item tag. Create one more tag called item. And close the menu tag. So in the XML file, first we had to configure the values we had to configure in the XML file, resource, menu, and the file name.xml. So in the XML file, so we had to configure the values we had to configure first. Okay. So this is we had to do first in XML. First in XML, we had to configure the values we had to configure in XML first. Second thing is, so in Java, so use the following methods to work with menu. Use the following methods in activity use the following methods in activity to work with menu options. Okay, so maybe there are two methods are there. One is on create options menu is one method. One is on create options menu is one method, and another thing is on menu item selected is another method. On create options menu is one method, and another method is what? On menu item selected is method. I guess it is changed now. This on menu item selected. So we'll see what is that method. Change the method. So these are the two methods we had to use in the activity class. On menu, on create options menu is the method. one of the input parameter for this one is menu is one of the input parameter for this method. Inside this on create options menu method, one of the input parameter for this method is what? Menu is one of the input parameter for this method. So in this on create options menu method, we have to write the logic. There is a method called get menu inflator is a method. Get menu inflator dot inflate is a method. In this inflate method, we have to pass two parameters. That is where the XML values are configured. R dot menu dot specify the XML file name in which XML is configured. And second thing is we had to configure. We had to specify the menu object. We had to specify in the second parameter. First thing is XML file where the values are configured. Second thing is the menu object. That's it. Whenever the menu item is selected, so this method is going to call on context. Here I think is the change name is nothing but on menu item selected. That is on context item selected. On context item selected is another method. So whenever you select a particular menu item, it is going to call this method. It's going to call. Okay. So first, what we'll do is we'll configure the values in the XML. Okay. We'll create a project. We'll create first. Let's create a new project. There is menu and action bar. Test. Okay. Next. So let's create a project menu and action bar test. So first in the XML file, open this resource. In resource, you can find a folder called XML layout. So here we had, so these are the folders, drawable, layout, bitmap and values. These are the folders. So like this, we had to create one more folder we had to create. In this resource folder, we had to create one more folder we had to create. In this resource folder, we had to create one more folder we had to create. Let's create a directory, or let's see here any folder I want to create. On folder I want to create with the name called menu. So here there is no option for menu. Okay, let's create a directory. Specify the directory name as menu is a directory. Or first we'll check is there any option for creating the menu folder. Is there any option called menu? AITL activity auto folder. So Android resource directory. Okay, so here we say. So I click on this resource folder. Let's create one new Android resource directory. In this Android resource directory, so here we had to select in place of values, we had to select menu, we had to specify. We had to select what? Menu we had to select. Let's select menu. Okay. So inside this resource folder, we created a folder we created called menu is the folder name. In this menu folder, we had to create one XML file we had to create in this menu folder. So let's create one new XML file. Menu resource file is XML file. Okay. Menu resource file. You can specify any name you can specify here. For example, any XML file name you can specify. I given a name called my menu. My menu is the XML file. Let's select OK. So now here in this XML file, my menu XML file, we had to configure the menu items. We had to configure by using item by item tag. So you can give the title. You can give Android title. For example, my title is I want to display Android. I want to display. If you have any icons, you can create a separate icons and you can place the icons. You can place. Just for demonstration, we'll place this default image. We'll place into the menu folder. We'll place the default image. Just I placed one image. I placed iclauncher.png file. Just one image I placed into this toggle folder. So icon add drawable / IC launcher and specify the ID also. @ +ID / m1. So inside this menu XML file, configure the list of menu items like this. You can configure the n number of menu items you can configure in the XML file. So one is Android, so iOS. Okay. You can configure the n number of items you can configure in the XML file. .NET. So like this, we can configure the n number of menu items you can configure: Android, iOS, Java, .NET, Hadoop. So we configured a few menu items we configured in the XML file. We configured in this XML file. So we configured few menu items we configured in the XML file. We configured the few menu items. Okay. So now in the Java code, we had to override two methods. We had to override. One is on create options menu is one method. One is what? On create options menu is one method. On create options menu is one method, and another method is on menu item selected is another method. It's not on menu item selected. On context item selected is another method. Okay. So now what are the values you configured in the XML? On create options menu, and another thing is on context item selected. Whenever you select a particular menu item, it is going to call this method on context item selected. So first in the XML, we configured few menu items we configured. If you want to set that menu items, if you want to set in the on create options menu method, we have to set that XML file to the Java file. There is a method called get menu inflator is a method. Get menu inflator dot inflate is a method. First parameter we have to specify the XML file. We have to specify r dot menu dot. We have to specify the XML file. We have to specify my menu. Second thing is nothing but the menu object. Second thing is what? The menu object. Get menu inflator dot inflate. First we have to specify where the XML values are configured. That XML file, we had to specify the first parameter. Second parameter is nothing but menu is the input parameter. Okay, so let's test the application. Let's see whether it is displaying the menu options or not. Okay, so run the application. Just 1 second, I'm getting a call.
Mahesh? Mahesh? Hello? Mahesh, your voice is not audible.
Yeah, sorry. I forgot. Actually, I placed in mute, but after that, I guess now it's enabled, right?
Yeah, now it's fine.
I got a call at that time. I placed in mute, but after that, I forgot to enable that one. Okay. So basically, I'm telling here you'll get a three dots menu. You'll get basically in here in the top right. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, here you'll get a dot menu. You'll get here in the header section. But my phone is an old version, so that's why I will not get this dots menu. I will not get here. But here in my phone, I have a separate button called menu button. So once if you select this menu button, if you select once if you select the menu button, so it will show you the list of menu options. It will show you Android, iOS, Java. So these are the list of menu options. If you select any particular menu item, so we are displaying that. Okay, just we are discussing only displaying the menu options. Once if you select this menu button, it will display the menu options. It will display Android, iPhone, Java, .NET, Hadoop. So whenever user selects the particular menu item, if you want to perform any action, if you want to perform any action, if you want to perform, write that logic here. If you want to perform any action, write that logic in the on context item selected method. In this on context item selected, write the logic. So if you want to execute any logic when user selects the particular item, so write that logic in the on context options on context item selected method. So here, just my requirement is I want to display the selected item in a toast message. I want to display whatever the user selected item. I want to display that item in a toast message. Toast dot make text is a method. Toast dot make text is a method. First, we have to specify the context object. First, we have to specify what context object we have to specify. Get application context. Second thing, we'll display the selected item. Will display the second parameter. Item dot. There is a method called get title is a method. So we are displaying that selected item. We are displaying item dot get title is a method. Comma. And the last thing is, so we'll specify the duration. We'll specify dot show is the method. Okay, just if you select any particular item, we are displaying that selected item. We are displaying in a toast message. We are displaying. So now we'll test app. Okay, so app is installed. We'll see now. So app is installed. So here select the menu item. So once if you select any item, if you select, okay, so you got the list of menu options. You got Android, iPhone, Java, and all. So once if you select any item, for example, I'm selecting Android. I selected. So return the logic for displaying the toast message. And so maybe we forgot to call the show method. So 1 second. On create options menu is one method. Just give me 1 second. I'm looking for a method. Which method it will call? On menu opened. On create options menu. On dash button. It's correct only. On menu item selected on will call. So 1 second. I'll check the method. So it's not on context item selected. Small change here. Method name is not on context selected. Method name is on options item selected. On options item selected is a method. So just I forgot the method name. So whenever you select a particular menu item, it will invoke this on options item selected method. So I thought it's on context. Just change that one to on options item selected method. So we'll test the application. Let's see. On options item selected. Okay. So app is installed. So see the screen. See here, if we select the menu item, I'm selecting this menu button. Show you the list of menu options it will show. So once if we select any particular menu item, I'm selecting this .NET I selected. So we are displaying that selected item, we are displaying in a toast message. If we select iOS, so we are displaying that iOS. If we select Android, so we are displaying that selected item, we are displaying in a toast message, Android. Okay, so this is nothing but menu options. See here in the device header part, we got only title, we got menu and action bar is there. My requirement is below of this menu, below of this header section, menu and action bar test, I want to add some images. I want to add. If you see the WhatsApp application, if you see the WhatsApp application, you can find some menu options. You can find here the compose button and attach button. You can find two buttons here. You can get. So that is also nothing, but it's not a separate thing. So these things are also a part of menu. Okay, just we had to add one statement. We had to add one statement here in the context. I mean menu XML file, my menu.xml. Just we had to add one statement. We had to add if you want to display the menu item in the action bar itself. If you want to display the menu item in the action bar itself, if you want to display the menu options, we had to add this one. We had to add a statement called show as action. Show as action will specify as we are having few properties. If we specify always it will display in the menu item, meaning this menu item Android. Basically, we'll specify if room, meaning if space is there in the action bar, then only display that component. Okay, but it is asking you had to add one more. Okay, so for this Android and iOS, I'm adding this option. I'm adding show as action if you room. Available in the action bar. If space is available in the action bar, then only display this menu icon in the action bar. Okay, so we specified show as action if room, but this requires. But if you want to add this statement, if you want to add, it requires to use app colon show as action. It required one additional tag in the header tag, that is resource underscore auto schemas.android.com resource slash auto, meaning here it is asking if you want to use this one in the header section. Menu is there, right? Here for this menu we had to add additionally, we had to add one more thing, that is xml ns colon app is equals to xml ns colon app is equals to http colon schemas.android.com slash apk slash resource auto. We had to add this statement. We had to add this statement. We had to add xml ns colon. Sorry, what it is asking? XML ns colon app, right? apk slash resource hyphen auto. So you had to add this and header tag you had to add. So then only we can use this one. So if you want to use this show as action, it's not part of Android. So we have to specify this one in app. Specify app colon show as action. So if you want to use this one, if you want to display any menu item, if you want to display in the action bar itself, we have to apply this one. Show as action we have to apply. So if you want to apply the show as action, you have to add this namespace we have to add in the header section. So now we'll test the application. So once again it is loading. See the device screen. Oh, before installation and remove the cable. So observe here. So we added two menu items we added in the action bar itself. Of course, just we added the default image you added. Like this, you can add any a new image you can add. Okay, so menu and action bar. So once if you select this one, so we are displaying that particular title. See, we got a toast message because I selected iOS. I selected. We got a toast message iOS. So once if you select this action bar, we selected Android. We selected. So that's why we got Android. Like this, you can create n number of menu items you can specify, but we had to specify the property called if room, meaning if space is available, then it will display in the action bar. Otherwise, it will not display. So this is nothing but menus. So if you are using Android 4.4 and above versions, so here you will get a three dot dots menu. You will get. So if you click on the three dot dots menu, it will display a drop down menu. But mine is an old version, so that's why separate. I have a button called menu button. See, now in the menu button, we'll get only three buttons, three menu items only. Hadoop, .NET, and Java. Because the two menu items is already moved into what? The header part we moved in the action bar itself. Okay. So this is a menus concept. This is what? The menu concept. Okay. So now we'll discuss the next concept we'll discuss, that is action bar concept. So in action bar, you can add the tabs. Basically, with the action bar, you will get a requirement of. I'll show you once again what exactly action bar. See, this header part is nothing but action bar. So the project name action bar test, and we got the two buttons we got, right? So basically, this area is nothing but what? It's a action bar. I don't. My requirement is I don't want to display this blue color background. I don't want to display. I want to specify my own color as a background. I want to specify. So if you want to specify your own background, if you want to specify. So if you want to work with that action bar, if you want to work, basically, so we have to. So here in the activity class, first we have to get the action bar object. We have to get first we have to get the object for action bar. First we have to get the object for action bar class. We have to get the object. So in the on create method, get the action bar object. Action bar is equals to. There is a method called get action bar is the method, or get the support action bar. The same. Get support action bar is the method to get the action bar object. So if you want to specify your own background for this action bar, there is a method called action bar dot set background is the method. But set background drawable is a method, meaning we had to create one image we had to create, and we can set that image as a background. Okay, we had to create one image and we can set that image as a background we can set. So first let's create the image, then we'll set that image as a background. Yes, I'm creating an image, I'm creating in the paint. Let's take, I want to display this one as a background for my screen. Okay, so just we create an image, we'll create the red color background we specified as a background. Let's save this one. We'll save the image on desktop or somewhere. So I specified action bar underscore background is the name. Action bar underscore background. On desktop I want to save with a PNG format. Okay. So first we'll place that image in the, so we created an image we created. So first we'll place that image, we'll place on the drawable folder, we'll place the image. So first we'll place that image in the drawable folder, action bar underscore bg, the file. Let's copy the image and place that image into your project drawable folder. Let's copy the file name and place this image in the drawable. Next. Okay, and if you want to set this image as a background, so we'll specify the file, will specify there is a method called get resources is a method, get resources dot, and so get drawable is a method, get resources dot get drawable is a method. We had to specify the image id, we had to specify the image id, we had to specify r dot drawable dot, we had to specify the file name, action bar underscore bg is the file. Okay, so now let's test the application. Earlier it is displayed a default blue color background is displayed initially. Check this one once. So earlier we are displaying what? A blue color background we are displaying for this action bar. Okay. So now we created our own image, we created that brown color image. Okay. And we are setting that image as a background for this action bar. So we'll test the application now. Let's see. Still installing the app. See, the app is installed. Earlier it's a blue color background. So now we modified that one. So we modified to this brown color background, we modified. Just we place that image in the drawable folder and we set that image as a background for this action bar, we set the image. Okay, so now for this action bar we can add the tabs we can add for this action bar. So if you want to add the tabs, if you want to add for this action bar, okay, so here we got the action bar object, right? For this action bar, first we have to specify this property. Action bar dot set navigation mode is a method, meaning what kind of navigation you want to display. You want to display in a drop down mode, or you want to display the multiple tabs you want to display. You have to specify set navigation mode. Action bar dot, we have to specify this one. Action bar dot navigation underscore mode underscore tabs. We are displaying the tabs we will display in the action bar. Action bar dot set navigation, action bar dot navigation underscore mode underscore tabs. I want to display multiple tabs I want to display for the action bar. And what are the tabs you want to add? You can add the tabs you can add, that is action bar object dot, there is a method called add tab is a method. Action bar dot add tab is a method. The action bar object dot, there is a method called new tab is a method. Action bar dot add tab, new tab dot, you can specify the text, you can specify dot set text is a method. I want to display the tags, I want to display this Android. And we had to specify one listener, we had to specify set tab listener, will specify what is a listener object, that is the one thing. Like this, you can add n number of listeners, you can add, I mean n number of tabs you can add. Just for demonstration, I'm adding three tabs. I'm adding one is Android, iOS, and Java. So three tabs I added. So for this, all these three tabs, we had to specify the listener, we had to specify. We had to specify the tab listener, we had to specify Android, Java, and iOS. So for these three things, we had to specify the listener, we had to specify tab listener. We had to specify what? Tab listener, we had to specify. Let's create an object for tab listener. Listener is equals to new action bar dot tab listener. New action bar dot tab listener. So we had to create an object for tab listener. Okay. And these are the methods in the tab listener. The main method we use this one, action bar tab selected. Whenever you select the particular action bar item, I mean the menu item, action bar tab item, it is going to call this on tab item selected method will call. But if you want to call this one, we have to specify the listener here. So Android, iOS, and Java, whenever you select a particular tab, it will call the listener, it will call. In this listener, it is going to call especially this on tab selected method will call. Here will display toast message will display. Get application context. The action bar tab dot, there is a method called get text. And length underscore long dot show is a method. So whenever you select a particular action bar tab, it is going to call this method on tab selected. In this method, we are displaying a toast message. We are displaying that selected item. We are displaying in a toast message. So we'll test application. Let's see. Anything is error here? I guess everything is clear. There is some listener. Maybe we forgot to give a semicolon. That's it. Off. I'm removing the cable while installing. Just 1 second. I'll install 1 second. See, the app is installed and we got the tabs we got here. If you see the action bar, we got three tabs we got. So Android is one tab, iOS is one tab, and Java is one tab. And whenever you select a particular tab, we are displaying that item we are displaying. Android, iOS, and Java. Okay. If you see closely, you can find the tabs. One is Android tab, iOS tab, and Java tab. The same kind of UI you can find in WhatsApp. Here you will get contacts, calls, and chats, contacts, calls, and chats. So that like this, we created three tabs. We created Android, iOS, and Java. We created three tabs. We created. Okay. So this is about the action bar and the menus concept. This is about what? The action bar and menu concept. What happened again? Uh, if you want to swipe the tag, right now it's not. We are not. There is no swipe option because three menu tabs is already set in this one screen. Now, if you add more tabs, automatically you'll get the swipe support. Automatically you'll get the swipe support. For example, uh, so here there is no swipe. There is no swipe option, right? Even if you swipe also, nothing is happening because only three buttons are available. If you add more tabs, if you add, so you'll automatically get the swipe option. For example, here I'm adding, so two more tabs I'm adding here. So one is .NET and second thing is Hadoop. I added two more tabs. I added .NET and Hadoop. Let's test the application. WhatsApp, how can you swipe boss? See, in WhatsApp there is only three tabs only, right? There is no swipe option in WhatsApp. Let me check WhatsApp also. How can you swipe in WhatsApp? There are only three tabs. So now we added the more tabs we added. So if you add more tabs, automatically you'll get the swipe support you'll get. See, now we added total five tabs we added. The five tabs. So now you can swipe here. Android, iOS, Java, .NET, and Hadoop. So if there are more tabs, so even if you swipe, you'll get the next tabs you'll get. If there are more tabs in the action bar, automatically you'll get the this swipe support you'll get. I mean, you are asking this swipe or this screen swipe? Screen swipe means there is another control called navigable drawer. We have to use that one. Or there is a view called view switcher or view slider is another view. We have to use that one to swipe this one. To swipe the screen. I thought it's a if you want to swipe the tabs. If you want to swipe, if there are more tabs, automatically you can swipe this one. Okay. So if you want to use the screen swipe option, so we had to use a control called view switcher. Okay, just try to explore that one. View switcher is a UI component. If you want to see that screen swipe, there is a UI component called view switcher. Okay, so try to explore this view switcher option. Okay, so this is about the what the action bar concept and the menus concept. Okay, so work on these two things, the action bar and menus concept, and tomorrow we'll discuss the view slider or view switcher concept. We'll discuss in the next session. Okay. Okay. Any queries? So work on these two things, and tomorrow I'll take what we discussed the how to create the new service we discussed. So in the next session we'll discuss the built-in services in Android. We'll discuss in the next session. Okay. So thank you guys and see you tomorrow. Any queries? Please let me know.